Court is now in session. This is a class action case involving competing claims. Identity versus claims of identity. Who are the people of the Most High according to what is written? It will not proceed by opinion or tradition, only by the record. It is written, "You shall not respect persons in judgment, but judge righteously."
Your Honor, the question is not what has been believed. The question is not what has been taught. The question is, what does the record actually say?
Your Honor, identity is not in question. It has already been established, recognized, and documented. There is no need to redefine it. It is already known.
The record has been entered. This court will now examine what is written.
Members of the jury, we're going to read from the record. Exhibit A, Deuteronomy 28, verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies which Yahuwah shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. A people serving their enemies, relying on them for food, water, clothing, for everything, and under a yoke, control placed on them, not by choice. Exhibit B, Deuteronomy 28, verse 41. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. They have children, and those children are taken into captivity. And the record continues. Exhibit C, Deuteronomy 28, verse 64. And Yahuwah shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. Scattered among all people, from one end of the earth to the other. Exhibit D, Deuteronomy 28, verse 65. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. Among those nations, they don't find ease, they don't find rest. Exhibit E, Deuteronomy 28, verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations whither Yahuwah shall lead thee. A people known, by names given to them, spoken about, recognized across nations. Exhibit F, Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. And Yahuwah shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you, taken by ships, sold as bondmen and bondwomen, and no one to redeem them. That's the record. Serving enemies, children taken, scattered, no rest, known by names, taken by ships, sold, all in one place.
Counsel for the defense, you may proceed.
Your Honor, the issue here isn't whether a pattern can be read. It's whether that pattern overrides what is already established. The identity in question is not unknown. It has been preserved in name, in record, and in recognition. The people identified as Judah have been known historically as Jews. That connection isn't being proposed here. It already exists. And that identity has not been in dispute. That name is still in use, still recognized. They're still called that, and that hasn't changed.
Counsel for the prosecution, you may proceed.
Exhibit G, a new and accurate map of Negro land and the adjacent countries. Emmanuel Bowen, 1747. West Africa, labeled here as Negro land.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Your Honor, this map is archived by the Library of Congress, maintained by the United States government.
Overruled.
From that coast, routes extend across the Atlantic to the Americas by ship. Large populations moved. That's movement by ship, the same movement described in the record.
What has been presented to you is a map, lines across the ocean, and you're being asked to make it say more than it does, because the exhibit shows roots, not identity. It doesn't tell you who those people are. That part is being added to it. If it were there, you wouldn't have to add it.
Exhibit H, Olaudah Equiano, 18th century. Describing the customs of his people, the Igbo. Practices he directly compares to the Israelites: circumcision, Genesis 17, dietary separation, Leviticus 11, not introduced, observed, within the people prior to the movement shown. The same pattern present in those people before displacement. That's not being added, it's being recognized.
Your Honor, what has been presented here are comparisons, practices, resemblances, observations, but resemblance is not identification. A similarity does not establish identity. The court is being asked to take customs observed in a region and turn that into a people. But the exhibit never identifies them. It only suggests resemblance, and suggestion is not sufficient evidence to assign identity in this court.
You've just heard that what has been presented is not sufficient. You've heard the record, what was written and what was shown, a pattern laid out in full, captivity, movement, conditions. Then the question, who fits it? You were shown that those same patterns were present before the movement, not introduced later, observed. And the response you heard was that it hasn't been tied. But the record does not require a label, it requires a match. And what you've seen is alignment, pattern, practice, timing. And it is written, I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Revelation 2:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, and are not, but do lie. Revelation 3:9. So the question is not who claims it, it's who matches what is written.
Counsel for the defense, you may respond.
What you've just heard is an argument that a pattern is enough, that similarity can stand in for identification, but that is not the standard. Because if it were, any group that shares a resemblance could claim that same identity, and there would be no way to distinguish what is true from what only appears similar. What has been presented does not establish who those people are, only that they resemble something, and resemblance is not proof. If that standard is accepted, then identity is not being proven, it is being assumed. Not in this court.
Members of the jury, you have heard what has been presented. You will consider the case based on what has been established and what is written. The jury will now retire to deliberate. Has the jury reached a verdict?
We have.
You may state your verdict.
In the matter of identity versus claims of identity, based on what was presented, and according to Scripture, we find the defendant,